The silence in Lucas Harper's Colorado mansion felt different tonathiovir, like the air before a storm breaks. He'd returned from 3 weeks of brutal New York meetings to find his sanctuary disturbed, though he couldn't pinpoint why until he reached the guest wing his mother once favored. The door stood ajar. Inside, illuminated by hallway lights spilling across blue linens, lay a woman he'd never seen before. Her dark hair fanned against the pillow like spilled ink, her wine-colored gown wrinkled and smudged. But what stopped his breath wasn't her presence. She didn't flinch when his footsteps creaked the floorboards. Instead, she spoke in a voice barely above a whisper. "Please take them off." The words carried weight, as if she'd said them before too many times. Too many people who'd refused. Lucas's hands trembled as he approached. Faint bruises marked her wrists like fingerprints, and when he carefully untied the silk, she kept. Her eyes closed, as if sight might hurt more than darkness. When she finally looked at him, her gaze held something that made his chest tighten at fear, but a bone-deep exhaustion that spoke of survival rather than surrender. "Do you know where you are?" he asked softly. Her lips barely moved. "Somewhere I wasn't supposed to be seen." In that moment, Lucas realized something that would change everything. She hadn't come here to hide. She'd come here to be found. 3 days passed in careful silence. Lucas brought her tea, warm towels, simple food, never asking the questions that burned in his throat. She moved through his house like a ghost, learning to be solid again, always keeping her back to walls, avoiding mirrors. On the 4th morning, she spoke more than she had since arriving. "I don't remember how I got here." Her fingers traced the rim of her teacup. "I remember a car. Someone saying my name, but not like it belonged to Mel, like it was just convenient." Lucas set down his coffee. "What's your real name? Elena Vasquez?" The words came out like she was testing their weight. At least it used to be. Before they decided it wasn't marketable enough. She looked toward the snow-covered pines beyond the window. "I was supposed to marry Victor Castellane next month, the tech mogul. You probably know him." Lucas's blood chilled. He knew Victor Ruthless connected, the kind of man who collected beautiful things and discarded them when they lost. Their shine was supposed to. Elena's laugh held no humor. "I found out about the others. 3 wives before me, all who disappeared after signing prenups that left them with nothing, all who asked too many questions about his business dealings." She rolled up her sleeve, revealing a thin scar along her wrist knot from self-harm. "But from restraints? Victor doesn't like to be embarrassed. When I tried to leave, he made it clear that wasn't an option." Lucas's jaw tightened. The blindfold. His favorite way to transport me like cargo. Elena's voice remained steady, but her hands shook. "I was supposed to be at his compound in Montana by now, ready for the wedding photo shoot." She met his eyes directly. "Instead, I'm here, which means he's looking for me, as if summoned by." Her words. Lucas's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We know she's there. Bring her back or we'll come get her ourselves." Elena saw his expression change. "How long do we have?" "Not long enough," Lucas said, already calculating. His security system was good, but Victor had resources that made billion-dollar empires look like lemonade stands. "Or something else," Elena whispered. "I have copies of his files. It's evidence of everything he murders, the money laundering, the trafficking. It's why he can't let me go." She pulled a small flash drive from her shoe, holding it like a grenade with the pin pulled. "This doesn't just destroy him. Destroys half the people in Washington who've been taking his money." Lucas stared at the drive, understanding flooding through him. Elena hadn't just escaped an abusive relationship, stolen the keys to a criminal empire. Outside, the sound of helicopters began to echo through the mountains. The helicopters, circled like mechanical vultures, their searchlights cutting through the forest. Lucas killed every light in the house and led Elena to his mother's old panic room. Reinforced space hidden behind a bookshelf that most people assumed was just another rich man's paranoid fantasy. "Why are you helping me?" Elena whispered as they crouched in the darkness. Listening to boots on his front porch, Lucas checked his rifle head, grown up hunting these mountains. "Because you asked me to remove the blindfold, not to save you, just to see." The front door splintered. Men's voices filled the house, professional, cold, efficient. They knew Lucas was here. His car sat in the driveway like an invitation. But they didn't know about the tunnel his mother had insisted on, the one that led to the old mining shaft half a mile up the ridge. Elena. Victor's voice echoed through the house. Honey smooth, despite the circumstances. This doesn't have to be difficult. Come home, and we'll forget this happened. Elena's entire body went rigid. Lucas saw her transformed, vulnerable woman he'd cared for vanishing, replaced by someone harder, more calculating. He knows I'd rather die than go back, she breathed. Which means he's not here to negotiate. A crash came from upstairs. We're searching systematically. The panic room wouldn't stay hidden long. Lucas made a decision that would define both their futures. Can you handle a gun? Victor made sure I learned that his wife should be prepared for anything. Smile turned savage. Just never thought I'd use it on his people. They moved through the tunnel like shadows, Elena following Lucas with the fluid grace of someone accustomed to moving in darkness. When they emerged behind the old mine entrance, the house below blazed with tactical lights. There's a cabin about 10 miles north, Lucas said. Brad stocked with supplies. We can know. Elena's voice cut through the night. Running just delays the inevitable. Victor has too many resources, too much reach. She held up the flash drive. But this ends him permanently. Lucas saw the plan forming in her eyes. Dangerous, brilliant, possibly suicidal. You want to go back? I want to finish what I started. Elena checked the pistol he'd given her with practiced efficiency. But I need you to do something first. She stepped closer, close enough that he could see the gold flecks in her dark eyes. I need you to promise me that if something happens, you'll make sure this information gets out. Even if it destroys people you know. Even if it costs you everything. Lucas understood what she was really asking, whether he'd choose her truth over his comfortable life. Elena, she kissed him then, fierce and desperate, tasting like fear and determination. When she pulled back, her words came out like a vow. I've been dead for 3 years, Lucas. Tonight I want to live long enough to take him with me. Below them, more vehicles arrived. Victor was bringing an army, and Elena was walking straight into it. Elena walked into Lucas's burning house like a queen returning to her throne. Victor Castellane stood in the main room, immaculate in his $1,000 suit despite the chaos around him. When he saw her, his smile was all teeth and no warmth. There's my beautiful bride. You've caused quite a stir. Elena kept her gun lowered but ready. Hello, Victor. You're looking well for a dead man. His laugh was like breaking glass. Dead. My dear, I've never been more alive. Though I can't say the same for your new friend. 2 of his men dragged Lucas from the kitchen, blood trickling from a gash on his forehead. He was conscious, but barely. His eyes finding Elena's with desperate intensity. The drive, Elena, Victor said conversationally. Hand it over and I'll make his death quick. What drive? Elena's voice remained steady, but Lucas caught the micro-expression that crossed. Her face not fear, but anticipation. Victor's composure cracked slightly. Don't be clever. You think I don't know you access to my personal files? You think I don't track every digital footprint in my own system? Elena tilted her head. You mean these files? She held up the flash drive, and Victor's men tensed like coiled springs. Fascinating reading, she continued. Especially the part about Senator Williams and that child trafficking ring, or Judge Morrison's gambling debts. Oh, yeah. Or enough. Victor's mask slipped entirely, revealing the monster beneath. You always were too smart for your own good. Smart enough to know you'd never let me live, even if I gave you what you wanted. Elena stepped closer, and Lucas realized what she was doing, positioning herself between Victor and the gas line. She'd somehow ruptured while the men were searching. The smell of propane was subtle, but growing stronger. Smart enough to know that dying free is better than living as your possession. Victor drew his own weapon. You're right. I was going to kill you anyway. But first, you're going to watch me shoot your savior. And then I'm going to take my time with the explosion, threw everyone to the ground. Elena had ignited the gas with a single gunshot, turning Lucas's kitchen into an inferno that roared through. The house like a living thing. In the chaos, men screaming, smoke billowing, Timber crashing schmooved. She put 2 bullets in Victor's chest before he could react. Watching his expression shift from rage to disbelief to nothing at all, "That's for every woman who couldn't fight back," she whispered to his corpse. But Victor's men were regrouping, and the fire was spreading fast. Elena cut Lucas free with a knife from his own kitchen, hauling him toward the back door as flames licked the walls. "The drive," he gasped. "Safe," she said, then kissed him again softer this time, like a promise. Instead of goodbye, they stumbled into the snow as the house began collapsing behind them, the sound like thunder in the mountains. But Elena's expression wasn't victorious, it was terrified. "Lucas," she said, her voice breaking for the first time since he'd found her. "I lied." He looked at her confused. "There was no drive. It's the real evidence. It's in my head, memorized. And Victor wasn't the only one who knew I had it." As if summoned by her words, new lights appeared through the smoke. More vehicles, more men, an entire network of corruption descending on them like vultures. "His business partners," Elena whispered. "They can't let me live either," she pressed. "Something into his hand, not a flash drive, but a small recorder. Everything I know is on there. Get it to Sarah Chen at the Washington Post. She's the only journalist Victor couldn't buy." Lucas gripped her hand. "We'll get it to her together." Elena's smile was heartbreaking. "Oh, Lucas, you will." She was already moving, already running, toward the new threat with a grief-stricken war cry. Drawing their fire away from him, Lucas understood, finally, what love looked like when it wore the face of sacrifice. 6 months later, Lucas Harper stood in a federal courthouse, watching the last of Victor Castellane's associates receive their sentences. The recording Elena had given him had brought down 3 senators, a federal judge, and a human trafficking network that spanned 12 countries. Sarah Chen's articles had won a Pulitzer. Elena Vasquez had won something more important: justice for women whose names the world would never know. Lucas touched the scar on his temple, a permanent reminder of that night he'd escaped through the mining tunnels while Elena led Victor's remaining men on a chase through the mountains that ended at Silver Creek Falls. They'd found her body 3 days later, or what they thought was her body. Lucas smiled, thinking of the woman who'd taught him that love sometimes looked like letting go, sometimes looked like holding on against impossible odds. He walked to his car, a simple sedan now instead of the luxury vehicles he'd once preferred. In the passenger seat sat a manila envelope prepro PT deeds, bank account numbers, a new identity. Elena Martinez lived in a small coastal town in Argentina now, running a shelter for women escaping abusive relationships. She had her grandmother's maiden name, Lucas's money, and the satisfaction of knowing that every monster she'd helped destroy would never hurt anyone again. The woman who died at Silver Creek Falls had been Maria Santos, a volunteer from Elena's network who'd agreed to switch places in the final. Moments a woman who'd lost everything to men like Victor and chose to make her death mean something. Elena had honored that sacrifice by disappearing completely, becoming someone new, someone free. Lucas had honored it by keeping her secret, by loving her enough to let the world believe she was gone. But every month, a postcard arrived with no return address, always scenic views, always unsigned, always with the same message written in familiar handwriting. "Thank you for taking off the blindfold." He got in his car and drove toward the airport. His flight to Buenos Aires left in 3 hours. It was time for Lucas Harper to disappear too. After all, he'd learned something important in those mountains. Sometimes the most profound act of love isn't holding on. Sometimes it's becoming someone worthy of the love you've been given. Sometimes it's choosing truth over comfort, justice over safety, love over everything else that seems important, but really is in single quotes. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it's discovering that the person you saved was actually saving you right back. Elena had been right about one thing: she'd been dead for 3 years before she met him, but Lucas had been dead for 30-6. Now they were both finally, beautifully, dangerously alive. The end. At its heart, This isn't just another billionaire romance, it's a story about two broken people who find each other in the worst possible circumstances and discover that real love isn't about rescuing someone, it's about standing with them when they fight their own battles. Lucas and Elena's relationship grows through quiet moments of trust and explosive scenes of danger, showing us that sometimes the deepest connections happen when everything else is falling apart. The story tackles heavy themes like abuse, corruption, and survival, but balances them with genuine tenderness and hope. What makes it compelling is how both characters have to lose everything: their old identities, their safety, even each other, for a will to finally become the people they were meant to be. It's about choosing justice over comfort, truth over convenience, and love that's strong enough to let someone go so they can be truly free. The twist ending feels earned because it's built on the emotional foundation the whole story has been. Laying thought, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is disappear completely and start over. Asterisk. Like this video, if the story touched your heart, subscribe for more emotional tales, and share with someone who believes in the power of true love, and let us know in the comments. We love connecting with our global community of romance lovers.